Welcome to The Ordinary Effect, the stuff we all notice but rarely talk about. If you are a subscriber, thank you. If you are not, I hope that you consider becoming one so that you can join us on a continuous basis. Nevertheless, thank you for joining me on New Year's Eve 2025. We're about to turn the page on 2025, and some of us might be really happy about that. But why is that? Well, I want to talk about the things that we all lie to ourselves about on New Year's Eve, or as we're about to turn the page. I mean, New Year's Eve has always felt like a night that asks too much of us, doesn't it? It asks us to stand at the edge of time and somehow be cheerful about it. It asks us to celebrate while quietly evaluating ourselves. It asks us to feel hopeful while mentally replaying everything that didn't go the way we planned. And what's strange is that we've all agreed to pretend this is normal. We dress it up, we count down, we make noise, we toast to things we haven't fully processed yet. And beneath all of that, we start telling ourselves stories. Not because we're dishonest people, but because stories are how we survive moments that feel bigger than we are. One of the first stories we tell ourselves is a familiar one. It shows up early in the night, sometimes casually, sometimes with conviction. Next year will be different. We say it like it's a fact, like it's already arranged. Like the calendar flip itself is going to step in and do something meaningful on our behalf. And I don't think we say it because we're naive. I think we say it because it gives us emotional relief. It lets us exhale without having to confront anything yet. Because if we're honest, real change doesn't usually feel hopeful at first. It feels awkward. It feels like admitting something isn't working. It feels like recognizing patterns we'd rather not look at too closely. And New Year's Eve isn't really built for that kind of honesty. It's loud, it's social, it's performative. So, instead of asking ourselves what actually needs to change, we push the responsibility forward. We tell ourselves the version of us who shows up in January will be more motivated, more disciplined, more capable, as if confidence and clarity arrive by appointment. But the uncomfortable truth, the one we rarely say out loud, is that time doesn't change people. Awareness does. Attention does. Sitting with discomfort does. And pretending otherwise isn't a moral failure, it's a coping mechanism. It's how we make it through a night that feels emotionally crowded. As the night goes on, another lie quietly slips in. It doesn't announce itself, it just settles into the background. I should feel more excited than this. Because New Year's Eve comes with emotional expectations. It's supposed to feel big, meaningful, charged. You're supposed to feel something: pride, hope, anticipation, relief. And a lot of people don't. They feel tired, or thoughtful, or emotionally full. Some feel strangely empty. Some feel sad and don't know why. And instead of questioning the expectation, they question themselves. They look around and think, everyone else seems more into this than I am. Everyone else looks happier. Everyone else looks ready. And suddenly, the problem isn't the night, it's you. But think about what we're asking ourselves and of ourselves. We're asking ourselves to celebrate and self-assess at the same time, to be grateful and dissatisfied simultaneously, to be present while mentally projecting into the future. That's not a small emotional task. That's exhausting. So maybe not feeling excited isn't a failure. Maybe it's what happens when you stop pretending long enough to notice how you actually feel. Then comes the comparison. The kind that doesn't feel aggressive but still leaves a mark. You hear people talking about their plans. You scroll past posts that sound intentional and confident. Big things coming. Ready for what's next. This year changed me. And even if you don't consciously compare yourself, something in you tightens just a little. Because maybe you don't feel changed. Maybe you don't feel clearer. Maybe your year didn't resolve itself into lessons neat enough to summarize. And it's easy in those moments to assume that means you're behind. But here's what we almost never say out loud. New Year's Eve rewards performance. Confidence sounds good at parties. Certainty photographs very well. Uncertainty, confusion, and quiet reflection don't translate easily into celebration. So, people edit themselves. They present the version that fits the moment. Most people aren't nearly as certain as they appear. They're hoping. They're guessing. They're holding things together quietly. New Year's Eve doesn't reveal who has life figured out. It reveals who's better at hiding the fact that they don't. Another lie we lean into is the idea that the year can be cleanly closed, that once midnight hits, everything from the past year can be neatly packed away. The disappointments, the unfinished conversations, the grief, the versions of ourselves we don't fully understand yet. We talk about leaving the year behind like it's a door we can simply shut. But life doesn't move in chapters like that. Some experiences don't end on schedule. Some losses don't respect timelines. Some lessons take longer to land. Some years don't offer closure, only continuation. And pretending otherwise doesn't make us resilient. It just makes us feel like we're failing when things follow us into the next year. There are years that spill over, years that bleed into the next, years that don't end but slowly soften over time. And that doesn't mean we did something wrong. It means we're still living. Then midnight arrives, and with it comes one of the heaviest lies of the night. The belief that this is the moment where change must happen. That if we don't decide something now, we've missed our opportunity. Midnight becomes a deadline instead of a transition. But real change doesn't begin with countdowns. It doesn't begin with declarations shouted over noise. It begins quietly, often weeks later, when something finally becomes uncomfortable enough that you can't ignore it anymore. And January, if we're being honest, is a terrible month to demand reinvention from yourself. It's dark, it's cold, you're tired. Expecting instant clarity and motivation isn't discipline, it's pressure. There's also an unspoken belief that to move forward, we have to abandon parts of ourselves, that growth means erasing who we are, that old versions of ourselves are things to be embarrassed by or left behind. But many of those versions weren't mistakes. They were adaptations. They were how we coped when we didn't yet know better. Growth isn't about rejecting who you were. It's about understanding them, integrating them, letting yourself carry forward with more awareness instead of more shame. And finally, there's the lie that settles in after the celebration ends, the quiet one, the one that arrives the next morning. Everyone else knows what they're doing now. Most people wake up on January 1st with the same questions they had the day before. They just don't talk about it. So we assume movement is happening everywhere else and not with us. But most people aren't lost or found. They're just moving forward, slowly, without a map, adjusting as they go. Maybe New Year's Eve isn't meant to fix us. Maybe it's meant to slow us down long enough to notice the stories we tell ourselves when we're tired, reflective, hopeful, and uncertain all at once. Not to judge them, just to recognize them. Because sometimes the most honest way to enter a new year isn't with resolutions or declarations. It's with awareness, with permission, with the quiet understanding that you don't need to have everything figured out to keep going. And maybe that's not something we need to change. Maybe that's just being human. Happy New Year. Thank you for joining me on The Ordinary Effect. Stay safe. See you in the new year.